So this all started, and this is fascinating. This got way more fascinating the more I looked into this.
Yeah, it's not like this is in the news. This is
This is crazy. Like we compiled, both of us have been doing a lot of research, and we compiled a lot of Chinese sources, and we brought them together with the English reporting, and we found a lot of holes in this little story.
Yep.
Oh, this is fascinating. So this all started with this rumor that was going around on Weibo.
Yeah.
And on Weibo, which is China's micro-blogging platform, it's kind of like Twitter. To be honest.
It's like Twitter.
Yeah, it's like Twitter, but you can type longer stuff.
Yeah, you can have
posts.
a little bit more content in it.
So what happened was there was a rumor going around that if you said anything about the Chinese economy being like, oh, maybe it's not going to grow, I'm not talking about like devastatingly bad stuff.
Yeah, it's if you just kind of badmouth it, if you downplay it, if you say it's not doing well.
Oh, maybe it's going to, take a little downturn. Maybe we're heading into some sort of recession. Oh, what's going on with this property bubble, right? If you say anything like this, there were rumors that are now substantiated that you are getting private inbox messages from Weibo, right, saying not to badmouth the economy. And some people were calling BS on this. They're like, that sounds like a rumor.
Nonsense.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not true.
We talk about the economy all the time,
Yeah.
right? But let's see what happened.
Okay, I'll get a smaller
It
again.
started a couple weeks ago.
Right.
It turned into something real big. What happened was it was substantiated finally when a Financial Times China a journalist named Jeff Lee, he had posted something, right?
Yeah, these are translations that we translated from the Chinese.
And he said in his post, he says, as a financial blogger, I received a private reminder from the platform, just like a little maid secretly whispering to me, Master, please don't seek death. Meaning what that actually means is like, it's like warning you, like, don't talk about this or you're going to die. You're in trouble, right?
Yes.
So this came from Weibo Finance, the official accounts, Weibo Finance and Weibo Stocks. So again, this is like Twitter sending you a message or YouTube
but like the
sending
official,
you a message.
the official platform. Yeah.
And it says, hello, teacher. Please be sure to pay attention to the standards of speech when posting in the near future and do not post any comments that badmouth the economy. Thank you for your cooperation. Now imagine the biggest social media platform in a country reaching out to you privately saying, don't talk about what's real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't post the news. It's nuts, right?
It is nuts.
So this is what happened.
And of course, they remove the posts.
Yes.
So they'll remove your post,
of
and then they send you a private message.
Yes.
Hey, listen, don't talk about this.
But then people that were talking about them getting these messages were getting removed.
Yes.
So it created this little quick firestorm about people being like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? What are you actually talking about? Right?
Yeah.
So it actually turns out that it blew up into something so much bigger.
Yeah.
What happened was it started as a little thing about like, don't talk smack about the economy. But then this guy, right, he is a very influential economist.
Yes.
Right? Oh, sorry, a business journalist, right? He talks about China's economic problems, economic futures. He actually posts this article. His name's Wu Xiaobo, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day. They banned this guy, right?
When did he post it?
It was a while ago. What he did was he compared China's economic problems to the Great Depression.
Okay.
So then this follow-up thing happened where this other guy who is part of this like securities company, right, posts this article that's actually pretty positive about China's economic forecast, which is crazy. But the headline in the beginning of it says that studies show, based on data, that about over 900 million people, so that's over 70% of China's population, is living on less than 2,000 RMB per month, right?
Yeah.
So it's like $280 or something, right?
Yeah.
This caught on like wildfire because so many people were sympathizing with it. They're like, that's how much I make, right? And I live in a major city, right? This isn't just some rural impoverished person, right?
Sure.
This goes beyond what China's former Premier Li Keqiang was saying. This is over 900 million people are living on less than 2,000 RMB.
So this is Chinese researchers put this data out.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
So going forward, this was removed, right? This was trending. It was number one, but it was removed. All right. Here's the guy. So he posts this, and it has some data and some graphs showing this stuff. It's substantiated, right? This is all signed off on. There's nothing in his report that is a new finding, but he brought it to the masses and was able to put it out there, and people respect him because it's his opinion. This isn't some little research blog now. This is a massive piece of data that he's proven to the world, right?
Anecdotally, I'm sure you can agree with me that we can corroborate this. Anecdotally. When you travel around the whole of China and you see how people live outside of the big flashy cities, of course, if you're in downtown Shanghai, Beijing, Nanning, any of these bigger cities, you're going to see the richest people of China in that area because they'll move to those areas.
Yeah.
But the majority of the people live in the city on the outskirts or in the poorer areas, in the normal areas, and then out in the rural countryside. And those people, when you look at the way they live, I can absolutely agree that they're living on 2,000 or less.
Oh,
RMB
yeah.
a month.
Much less in some cases. We'll cover that in a second. But so this guy's name is Li Xunlei, and he is the chief economist at Zhongtai Securities, a big, huge group, and so that's why people respect this. That's why it went to number one on trending on on
because
Weibo.
he's not just some quack or a little blogger or something.
No.
This is his profession.
Now, later in the article, so obviously people are talking about things like, well, China stopped reporting joblessness amongst youth, right?
Yeah.
They stopped. There's all these bad indicators that's showing China's economy having a huge downturn, right?
Yeah.
But he goes on the article to say, if we have some reformation here, if we're able to reform certain things, certain principles of our economy that got us to this point, if we're able to bring that back, we could probably double China's GDP by 2035. It's actually a positive article. It's just saying we are in a bad time right now. We need to face it down.
This is the current situation. This is what we can do to improve it.
Right.
That type of thing.
So there's nothing wrong about
But
what
it's
he
the
did.
fact that he stated the facts of the current situation that got him into trouble, got everyone into trouble, and basically created this huge firestorm.
Yeah, so just some graphics we threw together here. Just keep going.
Okay.
This was another person that was posting the contents of his article. This is how much it spread, right?
Yes.
So even when they removed his article, it was being posted around
Correct.
different platforms.
And this is what you'd get.
This is what you got after a while. It says, in accordance with relevant laws, regulations, and policies, the content of this topic cannot be displayed. So they really have been working around the clock.
Oh, yeah, to hide this
information.
Because it's a big bombshell. And here's the thing. In China, the government is very good at keeping people sort of in little bubbles, okay? Very localized. So you sitting there in your village, everybody that you know is earning very little money, right?
Yes.
All your cousins and all your other people, even the ones that have gone to the city, they're not earning a lot of money. But you keep seeing the propaganda on how prosperous China is. And so in your mind, you think, oh, it's probably just us, our little areas not doing very well, or our little group of people aren't doing very well. But when you realize that the majority of the country is in the same situation as you, it changes the picture.
Yeah.
Then you wake up and you're like, hang on, so actually the whole country's kind of poor.
Yeah. Yeah, I like what you're getting at there. Like, everyone can feel like they're at the bottom or something. But then when you see something like this, it corroborates the fact that, no, everyone else is poor like me.
Yeah.
Right? Over 70% of people are poor like me.
Exactly.
So you don't feel like because when you watch CGTN or when you watch Xinhua or any like state media, you're going to go in there as a Chinese person and feel real bad about yourself because you're looking at your country with this veneer, this state veneer on it.
Yeah.
And you're like, everyone's rich, everyone's succeeding except for poor little me.
Yeah.
That's not true at all, right?
No, everybody else is in the same boat,
Yeah, this is not like a negative piece of news. It's just camaraderie here, right?
Yeah, exactly. You go into the city and you'll see a Ferrari in Shanghai or something, and you're like, well, our country's obviously doing very well, and we're very rich, but not me, I'm just from a poor background.
Yeah.
Actually, no, everyone is like that.
Everyone's like that. So what they did was not just this. They didn't just remove this. They actually disabled the hashtag. So the entire hashtag was removed.
They do that all the time.
And that's how it got to the top, right? I just wanted to show you this graphic we put together. So 70% of people are living on less than $282 per month. I don't care where you're from. I want you to think about what your situation is so you can compare this. Because what China's been doing, and something that we've been trying to show people the reality of, because it's not fair to real Chinese people.
No.
Is to think that China has superseded where you're from, has superseded your standards, has actually not only superseded where you're from, but it's better than America. It's better than the American way of life. It's better than everything, right? And the reality...
3,000 years in the future.
Yes.
Look at Chongqing at night, cyberpunk city, all this nonsense. Trying to show you, look at our GDP keeps growing. We're so amazing. 70%
of people in China, the majority, are living on less than $282 per month. Okay? You can factor in any cost of living you want. By the way,
Yeah.
China's cost of living is skyrocketing
It's
right now.
It's much higher than when we were living there.
Yes. Yeah, like you could spend a couple bucks on a meal back when we were there. You can't do that anymore, right?
Nope.
Food prices are skyrocketing. The property bubble has led to the situation where no one is going to ever have a house. You know how it's bad in America, and people are like, young people are never going to own houses and stuff. You got to exacerbate that times a factor of 10 in China because you're talking about a low-quality concrete box made of poor materials that could potentially fall down.
Yep.
That doesn't hold its value because it's in a bubble, an artificial bubble. In a country that has 1 billion too many houses, can't sell them because of the overinflated prices.
And you can't own it anyway. You only lease it for 70 years.
And, and the low salaries don't allow it.
Yeah.
So you have this dystopia.
Yeah.
And this is the reality. And this guy simply just said, this is what we're dealing with. We need to move past this, right? We need to figure out a way to solve this.
You know, we have to, again, with the real estate thing, the prices that these apartments demand are high compared to your standards. I'm talking about a small little like 2-bedroom apartment in a city like Shenzhen costing over $1 million.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's no sense. Like a tiny rubbish apartment in a crappy building costing over $1 million, and you are earning less than $282 a month, and you're 70% of the population. How do you afford that?
You don't.
You can't.
You don't.
Yeah.
You just don't.
It's not possible.
So moving on, this gets so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Because according to state security in China, so this is how bad it got, right?
Yeah, it's not just the censorship board, the state security, MSS got involved.
They're like, we are so concerned about this news, right? They actually put this statement out when they first started that Weibo thing where it said like, don't post, don't badmouth the economy.
So then basically,
so what did they say?
Like the CIA version in China says, okay, according to state security in China, news of economic downturn is implied to be from foreign sources. They always have to blame the outside, don't they?
Yeah. You can take us out.
Sure. I'll get us out of there. Their essence is to use various false narratives to construct a discourse trap and cognitive trap of China's decline in order to continue to cast doubt on the system and the path of socialism with Chinese characteristics.
So that's the excuse, right?
So it's not that the economy actually isn't doing very well or that, there are lots of poor people in China. No, it's foreign forces are trying to screw you over.
You know what I found so fascinating about this is that that's all well and good. Like, that's a good way to placate people. They're like, okay, it's just foreign bad news. Trying to
the
make
black
China
hand
look
of foreign
bad.
people,
It's always that, right? They always say the black hand of the U.S.
Yes.
Meaning, like, the U.S. is meddling and creating false stories. So when your government puts a statement out like this, it can placate a certain part of the population, right?
Yes, yeah.
I found a little problem with this, though, and you can go to the next slide here. I found a big problem.
Okay, what's the big problem?
The source actually wasn't from foreign sources at all.
No.
Where was it from?
Well, it was from Chinese experts, and it was from the Beijing Normal University.
What a shame, guys. So
It sounds so dumb saying a normal university, so it's not abnormal. But no, but seriously, it's a very high level. That's just the way they name their universities there.
So the source of...
It wasn't this source, was it?
My source is that I made it the up.
Definitely not that source. No,
that was the Chinese state source.
That was the Ministry of State Security. Yeah.
So what happened was... The state security apparatus in China is telling people, don't worry, this is not true.
This is foreign lies.
The economy is doing well. Like this, the painting the tales of China's downturn. This is all bad foreign lies. That's the implication.
Yeah.
But guys, that article that was just pulled from Weibo, the one that was trending, that said that 70% of Chinese people are living on less than $280 a month. That's from Beijing Normal University. That's literally state research. It's not from Taiwan.
No.
It's not from America.
Nope.
This is from Beijing. This is from the CCP. The CCP came up with the statistic, guys.
I know, it's crazy.
It's their internal research firm, basically. So you have this situation where they're just wrong. To go back to this, $282 a month, 70% of Chinese people, stat came from China.
Yep, this is a Chinese stat from Chinese researchers.
It's from the Chinese government.
Yep.
The Beijing Normal University gives statistics to the CCP.
Yeah.
So they're trying to hide their own research. You know, we were talking about how Chinese censorship was getting so out of control. It's getting so bad that even reasonable research within China that the CCP endorses and funds is getting
censored and pulled. Yeah, because if it doesn't line up with their narrative and what they want, then it's just not right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
I have another problem.
What's that?
You remember this?
Oh, yeah. I remember this.
China eradicates extreme poverty. 98.99 million Chinese in rural areas helped out of poverty from 2012 to 2020.
Isn't it 800 million? I keep hearing that number, 800 million.
That's 800 million Chinese people over the CCP's history were lifted
out of this.
Xi Jinping's history, the current leader of China, he lifted the rest out of, it's called extreme poverty.
Sure.
Extreme poverty is like
nothing. Like when you don't earn anything.
I'll tell you in a second. I have an actual stat. But it's basically equivalent to the U.S.'s standard of poverty would be China's standard of extreme poverty. It's just what they call like the lowest level, right?
Okay.
The poverty line, we can
call it.
Poverty
line, yeah.
This was on CGTN, Chinese state media. I remember it says, happening now, farewell to poverty. So basically, the leader of China got up in front of a podium and said, there's no more poverty. And what actually happened, we covered in the past, was he just made it illegal to say that there's poverty anymore.
That's right. Yeah. What is the poverty line, by the way?
So the poverty line in China is $282 per year.
Yeah.
Per year.
Do you guys hear that?
Poverty line.
Yeah. So when Xi Jinping was like, there's no one in poverty anymore, that means if someone's earning $283 per year, they're not in poverty anymore. You know, they've been lifted out of extreme poverty.
So that extreme poverty is $282 per year. So when he says that that's been eradicated, by the way, it probably hasn't. But that's like such an outlandish figure.
Yeah, I just had to put that figure out there because just think about that, guys. Take $282 and just in your mind, try and think about how you could survive a year on that. Okay? Because if you try to divide it by however many days are in the year, you're talking less than $1 value per day. You know?
Yes, you absolutely are. I actually broke it down a little even
you
more.
did?
I wanted to compare it to the U.S.'s figure because if China's going to play with the big boys all the time, be like, we're better than the U.S. and we have a higher standard of living and the U.S. sucks and everyone's dying. 12% of Americans live in poverty, right? So we looked at that original figure that China was throwing around with that Beijing Normal University statistic that 70% of people are living on less than $200-something per month, right?
Yeah.
The poverty rate in the U.S. is 12% of Americans are living on less than $1,240 per month, right? This is not even in the same realm. You can't even have the same conversation.
No.
These are not the same problems, right?
Yeah.
It's not even close.
No, that's not close.
You look at even just like per person GDP is like 16,000. Like if you average the whole country of China and then adjust it, right? For how much stuff costs, it's like $16,000 per year, right? America's 70 or 80,000, right? It's not in the same conversation.
No, it's not the same.
So China likes to pretend like that it is.
Yeah, right. I still can't get over the whole $282 a year.
That's the extreme poverty line. Yeah. So remember, 70% of people are living on $282 per month or less. Yeah. And then to go to the next slide, break it down even further. The extreme poverty line in China that Xi Jinping said was eradicated is $24 per month.
Yeah,
$24 per month.
It's very difficult to survive on that. But if you visited the rural parts of China, you see people that definitely survive on that.
Oh, yeah. I know it sounds crazy, but there are people we saw, there's people that don't have electricity and running water.
No, they just live off the land.
Yeah.
So, you live off the land. The only spending you do is to get, if you have to buy seeds or whatever, and I guess.
Or when the local officials come to hose you down and we ran into that a lot. Yeah. Local officials come and get extortion from people.
They do all sorts of nonsense. But, people have to literally pass a donkey around, in the rural areas and rent donkeys from each other to do the plowing and things, and for a number of days. It's poverty.
Just before we get into that, I just wanted to read a couple things.
Okay,
there's a couple good quotes.
Okay, you want to read some quotes?
This got some backlash.
Sure.
Some nasty, nasty backlash from netizens and other researchers.
Dude, like I posted an article on Twitter about this, the close to 1 billion people in poverty, and the amount of Wumao that attacked me over it were crazy.
Yeah.
And at first they're like, U.S. propaganda, it's all American lies.
That's MSS.
Yeah, and then you're like, no, these are Chinese researchers.
Yeah.
Then they're like, well, it doesn't matter because cost of living is low in China, so you don't need to earn that much. I'm like, stop changing your damn story, first of all. And no, it's not okay because cost of living is not that low in China. I lived in China, and I did not live like one of those spoiled foreigners who goes to shop in those fancy places and goes to fancy restaurants. I lived like a local. I went to local crappy, very low-level wet markets, and I went to the local supermarkets, and I lived in the local areas. And even then, the cost of living, although way cheaper than, say, in America and places like that, was still not that low.
No.
You know?
Now, what I want to say is that from the other side of things, the backlash I'm talking about is not from Wu Mao. It's from people that think this is ridiculous that this was censored.
Yeah.
The average Chinese person is mad that this was pulled.
Yeah.
They're not trying to cover it up. That's you're talking about like the state apparatus to shut down the conversation.
Yeah, they're trying to shut down the conversation.
So this is what this one guy said, Ji Feng said, is data and data used by Li Keqiang all come from survey data of Beijing Normal University. As long as the article is downloaded, most of what it says is true. 3 years after the epidemic, the economic downturn has become a common problem for everyone.
Yeah.
This is not a person that hates China. This is a Chinese person that's like, why is this a problem, right?
Yeah.
My personal experience, my niece lives in Chongqing. Now, her monthly salary after graduating from college, this is a college graduate, a professional.
And Chongqing, Cyber City, 3,000 years ahead.
Wealthy city, is now only 2,000 yuan per month.
Yeah.
And the rent goes up to 1,000 yuan. So her father has to pay her 1,000 to 2,000 yuan every month just to stay afloat, right?
Yeah.
But the internship, when it's over, you'll be unemployed and the economy is out of control. Everyone knows it, right? This person, I thought this was interesting. This person said, the economy is the second largest in the world. And this is something that's hard to understand, as China's got the second largest economy in the world, but people think that that makes it a rich country. But just because your economy of your country is big doesn't mean you have more money.
Yeah,
you
it's
understand?
because of the factories and creating everything for the rest of the world.
Yes,
and the sheer vastness of the population,
right?
And everything that's being done.
Yeah, when you divide it by the population, it's a poor country, right? You can't just say, it's not the same, right?
It's
America only has 300 million
pretty
people.
easy. If you've got a family household, they got a big wheel of cheese.
Yeah,
and there's 3 family members. They got a lot of cheese.
Yeah.
But you take a big wheel of cheese that's double that size, you put it in a household with 50 people, all of a sudden you can say, our house has more cheese than your house, but the people inside don't.
No, exactly. Well said. The economy is the second largest in the world. As a result, the average monthly income of 964 million people is less than 2,000 yuan. How can we increase consumption and stimulate economic growth? Everyone knows the effective demand is insufficient and social confidence is not high. The reason is simple. There is no money. And that is something that the government is so desperate to try to hide right now.
Yeah.
Because it's this kind of situation where China knows that if enough people kind of get wind of this, then more confidence is lost. But what they don't understand is that if you have a normal country with normal freedom of speech and normal journalism and normal everything where people can talk about stuff, it doesn't have to get to this point, right? If you let things and capitalism take over and trade and open markets and open speech, open platforms, then you don't get to this situation.
No.
You don't. But when you have to control the narrative from day one and it gets worse and worse and worse, you end up shutting down your own research facilities and your own data points.
That's right. And it's just terrible because this is the reason why foreign investors are fleeing China, is because they keep clamping down on things. They keep just being totalitarian dictatorship. You don't want to deal with that. If you're a company and you want to, invest and build a factory and all this, you don't want there to be suddenly a law that's enacted that prevents you from doing business.
Yeah.
You don't want there to be a law that suddenly seizes all your assets because you said free Tibet once in a tweet like 20 years ago. You don't want to have to deal with a country like that. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had some video.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to compare. You're talking about the economy of China. And I think it's fair to compare the whole idea of tofu dreg buildings.
Yeah, actually it's part of it because the whole property bubble is related to this.
Yeah. So if you take a look.
就这个角，这完全错位了，这下面已经完全掉了一块，感觉悬浮了一样。
This is a brand new building.
And that's the base of the building.
Brand new building, just being completed. You can hear construction in the background. Brand new building, looks nice and shiny on the outside. But if you look at the foundations over here, there's massive cracks all the way along.
这太夸张了。
All over.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But it just shows the quality. And this is like the Chinese economy. What's presented to the world is the
是
shiny
倒了，不要说
exterior.
我窗户的问题，你看看，看到吧？拿手都会勾下来。
But if you could peel away the wall, for instance, and look at the actual construction quality underneath, this is what happens. Shortcuts are taken.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lie. And this is just a great analogy for the
这
Chinese
什么开
economy.
发
I mean,
商
look
做
at
的
this
房子嘛
stuff.？
人家花个
Look at
几
how
百万的房
soft
子
that is.
做个豆腐渣工程，你看，这是墙，拿手勾都可以勾得下来，这是墙。
Yeah, this is a guy who's obviously paid his hundreds of thousands of RMB, his millions of RMB, whatever it is, to get this apartment, and it's just nearing completion. He goes to inspect it, and he finds out that everything's crumbling.
Don't pick at it, said R.C. Roscoe.
Yeah, don't pick at it; it might just fall down. But I mean, that's the Chinese economy for you. There, you know, the government has to go out there and warn people not to badmouth
Yeah.
it, and that's the facade. You know, you have to only say good things. You're only allowed to show the cities at night, by the way, because the sky looks crap during the day with all the lights on.
I think it's so counterintuitive for the government to try and send these private messages, be like, don't talk about this. Like, that's so, what does that not show you that there's some alarm bells?
Yeah.
是吧？这是房子，你说要不要举报他？你们大家说，要不要举
These
报
are just
他？
normal people.
That's
that are
your freaking
being
house.
facetious, but like,
Yeah.
it's a serious problem.
Thought I'd throw this in there.
每当雪花的在飘落，你是我最深的情话。
Yeah, you know.
That's good application.
So I wanted to bring something a bit more personal into all of this, okay? Guys, one reason why we can confidently talk about China the way we do is because we lived and explored the entire country. We lived there over a decade each. I was 14 years, you were over 10 years, okay? So I'm bringing this back a little bit here to about, when did we film this, 2015? Okay, so this is 2015.
then you
I'm going to take the volume out because I didn't realize I left volume in there and you have no idea what we could have said. So, you know,
I think we were making a vlog, but
yeah, it would have been something nice and very, very pleasant. In fact, I remember that. If I put that volume, I remember us saying like, look how beautiful the houses are here. I remember that.
yeah, it was actually for
Because
the
it was different. Yeah. Because, you know, to find the wooden houses in the rural areas
It's
is
actually
so rare and cool. Anyway, this was in Guizhou, all right? And so we stopped, and then we drove probably, I don't know, like an hour away from here, half an hour drive from here. We stopped on the side of the road, and I remember I spotted this dude holding a rat, okay?
Yep.
So there he is.
Chilling with his rat.
Chilling with a rat, and I was like, that's interesting. So you see I'm zooming in on the rat. I'm like, And, you know, it's fairly well known that people catch these rats. These are cane rats, right? They catch the rats for food, okay? And then I thought there was this very, like, nice scene of this grandmother brushing this pretty little girl's hair, you know, wearing traditional type clothing. What I didn't realize is that she's got a rat in her hand, too.
Rat in hand.
Yeah. Which later only did I realize it was in the footage. And I was like, what? Like, imagine growing up and your toy is a rat instead of a doll.
Got to do what you got to do.
I get it. I mean, but it's just very, it just paints a picture of the real hardships that people have to face, you know, in these particular areas. And this is not even the poorest part of China.
No.
Now, the thing is, because we filmed that in 2015, and I've shown that footage before, I've gotten backlash. People say, that's not
Too
like
old.
that anymore. They're not doing that anymore. You know, China's lifted out of poverty since then, which is absolute bullshit because these clips are from like the last couple of months. Okay? It's still the same. People
You got a
going
haul.
out there.
What a haul.
Look at his haul of rats that he went out to catch to eat, which he will sell or, you know, cook for the
Again,
family.
Not a city rat, but it does show hardship.
It's still a rat, okay?
Yeah.
This dude,
We've both eaten these, by the way.
yeah, I've eaten them on a documentary. Yeah. At least I hope mine was a cane rat. I think it was probably just a sewer rat.
Mine was a sewer rat.
Okay.
Because the restaurant got busted for saying it was pigeon, and it wasn't.
Pigeon rat. Rats of the skies, right?
Yeah, but I was trying to eat pigeon.
Yeah,
I
but
mean
you-
dove. Yeah.
Okay,
Caged
yeah.
dove. barbecued.
Yeah, I
and
know what you mean.
ate rats, and I
This-
saw it on the news.
This guy, by the way, I love his haul. He's got like rats in every pocket.
He's got an epic hole.
It's like, hey, we got some rats here, got some
Stuffing them in
rats
his
there.
pockets.
Literally, this is a new freaking clip, okay, from this year out of China, probably from like a couple of weeks ago. So the idea that, again, just bringing a personal back in, the idea that the scenery that we saw, and don't forget, we didn't leave China that long ago, but the idea that this poverty has suddenly disappeared is bullshit.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah, I don't. But it's been shut down. You can't talk about it.
You just
anymore.
can't talk about it. You can't show it. By the way, before he starts, 310.
You gotta add mud. You gotta add water.
What is this? This is like supposed to be a TED talk, right?
Yeah. I like how everyone's emotional.
You have to try or you die trying.
It's okay.
Wow.
Close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind